income elasticity of demand. Income elasticity of demand tells us how sensitive consumers are to their buying habits when there's a change in their income. So let's start off by looking at the equation that we're going to use. Anytime that we're talking about income elasticity of demand, we're looking at what is the percent change in quantity demanded that a person's going to have when there's a change in income. So if you remember when we were talking about price elasticity of demand, a good way to start off is kind of getting a feel of kind of a number line, and we can look at how sensitive consumers are in their buying habits by dividing all the goods we have into two different categories. We have the category over here that is inferior goods, and then we have the category over here that are going to be all normal goods. Okay. Within the normal category, anytime that we see the income elasticity of demand is going to be a positive number, so if we have income elasticity of demand is going to equal a positive number, it's a normal good. Because if you remember, a normal good, all goods are normal. If there's an increase in income, it leads to an increase in demand. For inferior goods, over here, these are going to be our goods that have a negative relationship between increases in income and quantity demanded. Over here, if there's an increase in income, people are going to start replacing inferior goods with normal goods. So we'll see that it will cause a decrease in demand. Okay, so this is a number line, and these are all negative numbers and these are positive numbers. So this is obviously the number 0 over here. So within the normal category, we're also going to say that the number 1 is going to divide normal goods into two different sections. If an income elasticity is greater than 0 but less than 1, so it's somewhere in this area over here, this is going to be our basic goods. So it's a normal good, however, it's what we call a basic good. If your income goes up by 10%, you're going to buy a little bit less than 10% of this good or service. Over here, these are going to be our luxuries. A luxury good is one where if your income increases, it didn't really increase enough to justify buying a Bentley, or it didn't really increase to justify enough to buying this good or service. You're buying more than 10% more of this good or service with an increase in demand. Okay, so let me get rid of this for a second, and we'll go back to looking at what happens mathematically when there's a change in income with quantity demanded. So using this formula, we're looking at what happens when there's a change in income with the demand curve. Well, if there's an increase in income, we expect there to be a shift to the right in the demand curve, providing that the good is a normal good and not a inferior good. As long as the good is normal, we expect the demand curve to shift to the right. So let me put this away. Oops. Select the right pen, and there we go. Okay, so I just want to test it. So here, let's go ahead and look at our price and quantity demanded. Let's just look at the demand side of the equation for a second. So this is our downward sloping demand curve. And let's say that at the given price, whatever the given price is, it's not going to be very relevant. We're not going to worry about what happens to the price because this holds whether the price stays the same or changes. But let's say that there are 150 units of this good or service that a family buys at some given P1, okay? And we'll say that their current income for 2015 is equal to $40,000. Okay, now in 2016, we see that their income increases to $50,000. So we want to find out what this family's income elasticity of this good is. So we're going to see that their demand is going to shift to the right to demand sub 1, and we're going to assume that even if the price stays the same, that they're going to buy more of this good. Let's say they buy 180 units of this good. Okay, so how do we solve this equation of percent change in quantity demanded over percent change in income? Well, there are a couple different ways that we can do it. Let's start off with first I'll show you kind of a non-traditional way to do it. One way that you can do it is you can look at income over quantity times change in quantity over change in income. Okay, so what would that look like? Well, the change between the quantity we can see is a 30 unit change, and the change between the income we can see is a $10,000 change. Okay, so our original income was $40,000, and our original quantity was 150 units. Okay, and we're going to multiply that by the change in quantity. So the change in quantity was 30 units divided by the change in income. Well, the change in income was $10,000. Okay, so if we multiply this out, we'll see that we get somewhere around 2.7, 2.666, 2.666666, on and on and on, times 30 divided by 10, which would then be 3, and we'll see that this is 0.8. Okay, so here the income elasticity is 0.8. So what does that mean? That means that this family views this good or service as, and we can even put a positive in there, they view this good or service as a normal good. Okay, their income went up and their demand increased. We also can say that besides being a normal good, this good is a basic good. Okay, if their income goes up 1%, they will increase their quantity demanded by 0.8% for every 1% increase. So if their income goes up by 10%, then their buying habits will increase by 8%. Okay, so that's what the coefficient means, and it's very important to always remember what that coefficient means. Another way that we can look at this, and let me close this one down now. Another way that we can look at this, I'm going to look at the exact same example. So in this example, if you remember, our original income, our income 1 was 40,000, and our income 2 is 50,000, and our quantity 1 was 150 units, and our quantity 2 is 180 units. Now we're going to solve the equation for a different way using the more standard formula of a percent change in quantity demanded. So if we're looking at the percent change in quantity demanded, the change in units would have been, so this is going to be percent change in quantity demanded is equal to, and we would say, well, the unit change was 30 units. Okay, so we're looking at the difference between these two numbers. And then to find the percentage, we need to look at 30 divided by the number that we started with, which was 150. Okay, and we're going to put all of this over percent change in income. So this is obviously going to be the difference between 40,000 and 50,000, which is 10,000, divided by, and we take the number that we started off with, and that's $40,000. And we will see that this down here is obviously a quarter, so that's going to be 0.25, and 3 goes into 15, so this is going to be 0.2. 3 goes into 15 5 times, so 0.2, and then if we take, so this is basically what we're saying is 20% divided by 25% is going to be equal to 0.8. Again, a positive 0.8. So this is a different way to solve it. This is a little bit more traditional way to solve it. This is the way that I would solve it, looking at the income elasticity of demand. Up next, we will review the cross price elasticity of demand.